Hello, and welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. Usually, when I do this podcast, I have a guest with me. Today's just me. I'm doing a CavnessHR Refunder live stream today, just updating everyone on the Wefunder, what I've done the last few months, what I have going on, give you some updates. Well, not updates, but tell you about my background, how I got involved in tech, and some other things. So hopefully, this take around 30 minutes at the most. And also, I'm gonna talk about some other things I'm working on besides the Wefunder. So yeah. So let me flip my notes. So those who don't know me, hopefully most of you do. I'm Jason Cavness. I'm a INFJ retired U.S. Army officer. I served 25 years in the U.S. Army, 8 years enlisted, then 17 as officer. And we'll go by some more details out in a minute. Some early stuff about me. I'm actually a high school dropout. Obviously, I went back to school, but I dropped out in the 10th grade. Probably not the best decision I made, but it seemed like a pretty good decision then. So I can go into details about that at a later time. But after that, joined the Army as enlisted, spent some time in Germany, came back, went to college. So I graduated from high school and college in Odessa, Texas. Graduated from the University of Texas Permian Basin in 1994, a long time ago. But one thing you'll see about me going to this live stream, like I'm always doing something extra. Like a good friend of mine, Marcus Williams, has a joke. He says, like, if there was a picture of doing too much in the dictionary, it'd be a picture of me, right? Because I'm always doing something extra, so to speak, right? Like when I was commander in Italy, I had everyone do like a HR conference, right? Had never been done before, right? So stuff like that. So joined the Army, went to college, went back to Army, went to OCS. So OCS is very, let me backtrack. So how my mind works is like, it's like all over the place, right? So bear with me. So in college, my junior year, I was like in the student senate, doing like some student senate stuff, volunteer stuff. Put together a big event by Long John Hunter, had 300 people attend to it, right? Good fundraiser for school. And so these two people were talking about running for the student senate president, right? And they're talking to stuff like, and I thought to myself, like, man, I know I can do a way better job than them, right? I should run. But challenge was like, I've always been like kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Apprehensive about how I talk, right? Like when I grew up, I think I didn't talk my first 5 years, had a bad stutter my first 8 years. So even now today, I have like a real anxiety about when I talk, right? Especially when I get like nervous or whatever, I talk really too fast. So I always have to concentrate and like slow down. And so I thought to myself, man, I can do a better job than them, right? But man, do I really want to talk in front of people, right? But I made myself do it. And so I gave a speech from the business club. Like there's like 300 people there. And like everyone said, like that is the best speech I ever heard. And that's the reason I think I won, because I won like most votes ever, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's something I'm proud of. Something else I'm proud of is like on the, while on my time there, like there was no student housing on campus, right? So it didn't happen when I was there, but I started the plan. I was able to prove to a marketing plan that if there's housing there, that students from all the small towns around Odessa, Texas will go to school there. And like 6 years later, that housing. So I don't get credit for it, but I give myself credit for it. So I joined the Army, went to OCS. And for those who don't know, OCS is very competitive. It's very, very competitive. So like example, like suppose they have like 100 slots, like maybe 3,000 people or more might apply. So that's something I'm proud of, which OCS. When I went, like 125 people started. I think maybe 35 of us actually graduated. So it's a very hard school to go to. Spent 25 years in the Army. So other things I'm proud of in the Army, as an officer, anything competitive, we measure with data or metrics. My people always came in first. Whereas like weapons, PT, like we got recognized as having the best platoon, best company, best everything, right? The other thing too, in the Army, like it's very rare to get a commander's lieutenant. It's usually like captains, senior captains. I was able to get a commander's lieutenant. So I was able to do that. Another thing I'm proud of, like pretty much everyone who worked for me got promoted ahead of their peers. I recognize being the best way to do. So a lot of good times in the Army, a lot of good leadership experiences. And so after the Army, somehow I got involved in tech. And also I want to share this journey, share like what type of person I am, what we're building at CavnessHR, and how you help us out with it. So example, when I went to Afghanistan the second time, in charge of HR for the unit, both in Afghanistan and in different locations in the United States. Also ran the Red Cross, the Joint Visitors Bureau, just different things, right? So I'm always doing extra stuff, always like trying to lead best I can. The other thing I'm proud of, this number might be off, but I think around 65, 70% of people that worked for me during the military are still like my Facebook friends and stuff like that. So I'm really proud of that. So after leaving the Army, somehow I got involved in tech startups. So I worked for a tech startup called MyInfold for a couple of years. And during that time, I saw that most startups, they didn't have HR. And I was like, man, like how can I help solve this problem? And granted, I've been working this problem for a long time, right? It's just been a lot of up and downs, a lot of mistakes made. It's definitely a disadvantage being a non-tech founder. Like, I always like tell myself, if I go back in time, I learned how to code, but in reality, that's probably not a skill set I have. Like, I can probably be a product manager on a tech team. Like, I know enough about GitHub, AWS, how to put stuff together. But as far as the actual coding, that's probably not my cup of tea, right? So that's always been a challenge. Been through a lot of tech people. I've actually built this platform a few times, but never has been good enough to get paying customers. So I'll go more in detail about it in a minute. So after Army, joined MyInfold for a couple of years, learned a lot of stuff, and saw that most companies or most startups didn't have HR, right? But then, okay, cool. I really don't want to build at first I wanted to build a company for startups, but like none of them really have funding and can pay for anything, right? And I eventually got it paid, right? So I switched to small businesses, 49 fewer people. I thought that'd be a good niche to go after, right? Because this is a crowded space. There's like Bambi, Bamboo, Insperity, ADP. I don't have the numbers. Like there's like 1,400 HR software companies, like literally hundreds of thousands of HR consultants, right? So there's a lot of competition, right? So I thought by doing 50 or below, that would give me a nice niche because most of those companies don't have HR because, a person like me is $70,000 or more per year, depending where you're at. That HR companies, like I'll use, probably the worst examples, ADP and Insperity. I mean, they're known for like having horrible customer service. No one likes them. For ADP, I know a person in Texas who signed up for them, and then they signed up like last year, and they're still doing the onboarding, right? So it's been a horrible experience for them. And then you have the HR consultants. That's who I really want to put out of business. So most HR consultants, of course, there's a few good ones, but most of them, overcharging price, under-delivering value. For example, you're a small business owner, and you hire like an HR consultant, and you're gonna pay them like we'll say like $300 an hour. That's the average price. And they'll go through your office and look at stuff, and they'll say, hey, small business owner, you need 1, 2, 3 ABC. And you're gonna be like, well, hey, I kind of knew that. I do know my own business. When you're gonna fix it? They're gonna be like, oh, we don't fix shit. We consult. So you're a small business owner struggling to make ends meet. Can you really afford to give a consultant $300 an hour? I don't think you can, and that's where we're gonna come in. And I'll go through all this in more detail in the pitch deck. So did the MyInfold thing, learned a lot of good things. Started the company, CavnessHR. One lesson I've learned in the past is like in the beginning, I what's the word I'm looking for? Definitely chase too many shiny objects. Like if I do this, it'll take away from CavnessHR, but the payback will be really good. That never worked out. So if you're starting a business, make sure you focus on your company best you can. Another thing I did that was a good experience, but it probably took away from CavnessHR. So there's a nonprofit called Bunker Labs, and actually I don't know if they're still in business or whatnot. But in the Army, there's nonprofits that help us like with mental health, medical issues, find a job. There really isn't nothing to help military people start companies, right? So that's what Bunker Labs did, right? So I ran that like two and a half years in Seattle, and that really helped me get ingrained into the Seattle tech community. I mean, I already had really had like a good connection, good following here anyway. That kind of expanded a little bit. So I was, got to learn a lot from that. Did monthly events and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm continue to build CavnessHR. So right now we're doing the Wefunder. So some more background on CavnessHR. So I've been, like I said, the challenge has been the tech piece, right? I've had like people like say they're going to do stuff, they didn't do it, or people like I paid and they didn't deliver. Other people, in my mind, I think they ripped me, like stole money from me. Of course, I can't prove that, but it's my opinion. And then so finally, about a year ago, I was able to hire someone, like an intern out of a college, and she built the platform like pretty much good, right? I call it the MVP minus. Now, unfortunately, she got a job at Walmart and no one's worked on it for like a year. So there's a lot of bugs. The website's not up. But the time I was up, I was able to prove that, like this is a needed thing, right? I was able to do like 80 beta tests, $20 intent. I got a lot of good feedback from different people, different backgrounds, founders, veterans, all that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing was like, it wasn't good enough for people to pay for it, right? And so the reason we're doing the Wefunder is like to take this momentum we have and build up the next stage, right? Like one of the lessons learned was, it was like all on desktop, right? And most people wanted a mobile first app, right? So we had to switch a mobile app, right? That's another thing we want to do. And so we're building CavnessHR for small business. HR for small business, broken, complex, expensive. And we're going to solve this by providing an automated AI platform along with HR business partner. So the AI is going to do stuff like, tell you when potential problems are going to come up, and the HR business partner is going to help you fix it, right? And so we talked to hundreds of owners about this, and it's a need, and people want this. It's just a matter of like, we need to raise the funds or get the funds to execute the build for this. And so, like I said, I usually do monthly events to help with this. A while ago, I did a CavnessHR Small Business Conference at the Seattle Chamber of Commerce. Like 40 people came into that. I hosted a CavnessHR pitch competition in Tacoma a couple years ago. Then I ran 2 panels for Tacoma Startup Week. One panel was startups are not all rainbows and unicorns, because this is a myth that you start a company and 6 months later you're like worth billions of dollars. It's nowhere near that. Actually, I can't think of anyone who like so-called made it. What I made it means you like, did it overnight. And the other panel was finding the right startup investor. So I've done that. Then recently, in July 31st, I hosted an event here for Seattle Tech Week called CavnessHR, Seattle's Got Tech. 90 people attended, and that's not counting like, people that actually helped me out. So we had 16 tech companies do demos, early stage startups. Then we had like 6 judges. Was it 6 judges? 5 or 6 judges. So the judges were, hopefully I don't miss anyone, Lee Kendall of Moto Pizza, Andrea Lynn of Panda Mobile, Zarin Baker of Wild Whack. I'm missing some people. Elias T, she was on there. And I think I'm missing someone, so I have to look that up. But so those 5 or 6 judges like had looked around. So basically like a internet trade show for tech, right? Had 16 tables set up, and the judge, everyone just walked around, right? Also had a cocktail bar, had free cocktails. We had a Cavness old fashioned going on. We had some pasta, so a lot of stuff going on. And big shout out to Century Computing, Tate Cove and his team. They were the sponsor for that, so they was able to help me a lot with their sponsorship. So I really appreciate that. So big thanks to Tate and his team. So doing the CavnessHR Got Tech, a company called Doppel Technology won. So basically they're doing remote healthcare. So example, like suppose you someone is pregnant in like small town Alabama, they can do remotely control and do the sonogram, all that kind of stuff. Basically, they can do any kind of medical procedure remotely. So a lot of other good companies there was also Kevin Goldsmith from DistroKid was a judge also. He's been on my team, like he's been advising me for a while. So big shout out to Kevin Goldsmith for helping me out all these years. And so there's a lot of other companies like Bridget Jackson, she did her company too. And what I might do later is like run on a couple of videos from that tech event. So that was a good event. Got a lot of leads from there. And also there, I announced my Wefunder, my CavnessHR Builders Club, and my ebooks. So right now, I'm going to switch over and go to CavnessHR Builders Club. So you probably can't see this, but here's the Builders Club right here. So basically what the Builders Club is, it's a way for me to help build like momentum and traction for CavnessHR. So there's three levels, so to speak, right? One's early access, it's free, but you do have to sign a letter of intent. We're going to give you early access updates. You're going to be able to help, build out CavnessHR. Basically, you be all built-in alpha testing, built-in beta testing. But that's all it is. Next one is what we're calling the Founders Club, $9 a month. Same thing as the early access, which is free. For this, you can get a monthly strategy session for me for your HR business, what you want to do, maybe come on the podcast. And, basically, I'm going to do a Slack group or WhatsApp group, maybe a WhatsApp group for that one. And then we have the lifetime deal, $497 per month. So this is everything in the Founders Club. And then if you sign up for $497 lifetime deal, no matter how much the price goes up, because the price will go up in the future, once you add like recruiting, benefits, all that kind of stuff, you'd be at $497 one-time payment. You have HR with CavnessHR, forever. So I think that's really, really good deal. And then another thing I announced was our 7 ebook. So from the podcast, I've had over 300 conversations on the podcast. And what I did, I took the best of that and made 7 ebooks, which I'm giving away for free. And so some of the topics are top 10 leadership insights, emerging trends, 50 podcast quotes from guests on the podcast, common startup mistakes, featured industries, growth resilience, and unforgettable advice. So I'll just click on the let me go over here. So let me go to the hold on. Let me type in this email real fast. All right, so here's some of the quotes from different people from the podcast. It was very hard to pick these out, obviously. So Dr. Conrad Webster, take your dreams and put into action and emphasize the need to work for what you want, treating white noise as surface level distractions to aim high. So different people from the podcast who've been on here. But like I said, 7 different ebooks that's for free. So you just got to sign up. And I'll put the link in the description. And actually, the link's everywhere on my social media. So this is for you. And of course, you're using that as like a kind of like a sales funnel to get people to join CavnessHR. So got a lot of good event, a lot of good feedback from that. And then in September, I went to Vietnam for a month. So in Vietnam, I was able to do a lot of stuff to pull CavnessHR forward, so to speak, right? So I was there from September 1st to October 5th. On September 10th, I did a CavnessHR Wefunder launch in my friend Marquise Ryan's bar in Alibi Bar and Brunch. So my friend Marquise is actually a retired Air Force veteran who lives in Vietnam now in Ho Chi Minh City. So the event, I was able to have I actually gave a pitch on CavnessHR, and also let me backtrack. So at the CavnessHR Sales Guy Tech event, I did a quick pitch on CavnessHR, what I'm doing, and all the judges gave a little spiel on what they're doing. So to the Vietnam trip, Was there for a month, met a lot of great people again. This is my third time in Vietnam. So one thing I did was I did a CavnessHR Wefunder launch in Vietnam, which I know people was like, why do one over there? But I'll explain the reason in a minute. So 40 people came, a lot of investors, a lot of startup founders, got a lot of good traction there. Because what I'm trying to do is build a bridge between United States and Vietnam, but right now between Seattle, Washington, and Ho Chi Minh City. And so that's I think a pretty good event. Another couple of things I did while I was there. So I have a partnership with a company called TechBank. Let me pull them up. So TechBank is a software development company out of Vietnam. Their headquarters in Hanoi, and they have office in Ho Chi Minh City. So at TechBank, they can provide software development solutions for anything from a simple MVP to enterprise level, right? And so they're going to be the who are going to build out CavnessHR for me. I'm also helping them find customers in the United States. So you see they're in the United States, UK, basically all over the world, right? So I have a very robust software development team. And for those you don't know, but I'm sure most of you do, software development in Vietnam is like up to 50% less than the United States, right? And I would argue it's higher quality, right? So if you have a software development project, you need help with this, reach out to me. I can help you connect with them. But the plan is like once I raise a Wefunder and have the money, I'm gonna partner with the tech bank and they're gonna build it out for me. And also, like I said, if you're a software development project yourself or need any like connections, I can hook you up with a tech bank. They built a lot of really good projects. Like I said, anywhere from like simple MVP all the way to the most advanced AI, LLM, all that high tech stuff, right? They have a very robust team. And so have that partnership with TechBank. I'm kind of like doing business development for them here in the States. Another thing is another partnership I have in Vietnam. Another thing I worked with. So when I was there, November 2024, November 25, I did like 15, 16, 17, 18 in-person podcasts in Vietnam. And I was able to do it at a place called Earth VC. So Earth VC, let me pull them up. So Earth VC, they're like a deep tech climate venture firm out of Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And I think they have three investments in the United States already, and they're looking to do like 25 more in the United States in 2026. So I'm helping them with that too, right? And so Earth VC, they back climate tech startups that cut carbon emissions while building profitable businesses. Their focus is deep tech solutions that create real climate impact and strong returns. So some of the stuff they do is revolution maritime infrastructure. And so you happen to listen to this and you're like, oh, another thing. So with them, they're for their investment theses, it's has to be like deep tech, something that decreases carbon, something that's good for the climate. And someone on the founding team has to be like really, really technical, right? Like I'm talking about like deep dive technical, right? Like you can't be like, oh, I took a YouTube class. Like you really have to like deeply technical, right? And in order for them to invest in you, you need $1 million AR, right? So they're not early stage startup. They're probably like seed round, like I'll say post seed round, early A round, right? So $1 million. And they invest anywhere from $300,000 to $1 million, right? And they do lead rounds, right? And so some of the stuff, revolutionizing maritime infrastructure, innovations, implications, and pigment stuff. Obviously, artificial intelligence, and they do a lot of stuff with biology too. One of the companies they invested in is a company out of Austin, Texas. I think it's called Atmos. Hold on. Let me make sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Atmos. And if I have it right, is it Atmos? Hold on. No, it's not Atmos. It's AALO Atomics. If I understand it right, they basically want to provide everyone like their own individual nuclear reactor. Hopefully, I'm not wrong with that, but it's something with nuclear reactors or nuclear power for individuals or small towns. So they're doing some really cool stuff. Then, something you don't really want to think it'd be like a tech thing or like sexy tech, but they invest in companies like do sustainability and textile fibers. That's interesting. They've also invested in a company out of I can't remember where in the States, but basically they have it's basically like AI for HVACs, which is kind of interesting. Then here, another thing Earth VC is doing, dawn of a new nuclear era, small molecular reactors. That's for the ALL Atomics. And then another thing they're doing is harnessing renewable sources for sustainment. So they invest a lot of what I would call like sexy tech stuff, the AI, all that kind of stuff, deep tech, but also some stuff you wouldn't think as eventually like a tech VC investment. Like I would never imagine like an HVAC being like a tech thing, right? But it is, right? So I'm helping them out. I'm like a brand ambassador, investment fellow for them. So I'm gonna do some events for them in the Seattle area, and also probably since I go to Texas a lot, I'll probably do some events or do some stuff for them in the Dallas area, Austin area, and Houston area. So reach out to me about if you're in that space, with deep tech, climate tech, whatever, and you're looking for investment. I can definitely like help you out with that. So Vietnam trip, in a nutshell, hosted and launched the CavnessHR Refunder there. Then finalized a partnership with TechBank and Earth VC, and met a lot of really cool people there, right? Vietnam is definitely like the tech hub of Southeast Asia, right? They're doing a lot of cool stuff. A lot of people doing a lot of cool things. But before I can do all that, so the plan is like use Earth VC and TechBank maybe like to bring in customers or build on funding to help pay TechBank. Another thing I'm doing too, I have another company called Cavness.io, which I'm using to build on government contracts. So with the government contracts, I'm going to build on software development contracts and HR contracts. As maybe another way to bring in money for CavnessHR. So even though I'm kind of not following my advice of being focused, all this stuff I'm doing, the government contracts, the TechBank, the Earth VC, the podcast, we'll go over the podcast in a minute. Even though they're kind of separate, they're not, right? They're all kind of linked, right? And all roads lead to CavnessHR in a way. So hopefully that makes sense. So another thing with the Wefunder, I think I do have an advantage, at least, knock on this plastic table, I have an advantage. I do have a lot of followers on social media and LinkedIn, right? So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing an email campaign on Apollo. It's an email message to everyone. It took me a while to do this, but I finally figured out how to set up the email campaign. So I'm doing that and reaching out to people on LinkedIn. So something else I want to show you. So you probably can't see this, but on the Wefunder, it's so the Wefunder, how it works is you have to raise at least $50,000 to get the money out. So like if I raise $49,999, I'm not getting the money, right? And there's really no limit. Like you can stay a refund forever, but pretty much they tell you get off by 3 or 4 months because you haven't raised the money in 3 or 4 months. That's it. I'm gonna be on a bit longer. So I did a soft launch at the CavnessHR Seattle Got Tech on July 31st. And then I did the Wefunder launch September 10th. So that's when they officially launched. And the plan is cut it off December 18th, but I might keep it going to probably January 18th because it took me a little longer than I expected, set up the email campaigns to make sure obviously the email campaigns, like you can't send hundreds or thousands of emails from one inbox. It doesn't work. It gets spammed or whatever. So I set up new email boxes, and I had Send to Computing set up on my like email certification, right? That lets me like send out more emails as possible. And so I won't show you this, but I can tell you what I'm doing. So basically, I downloaded my leads from LinkedIn and put into Apollo. And so one thing, like Apollo like pulls leads or pulls emails, but a lot of times it can't write. For example, I have a thing called one thing called Founder Executive. I broke down my LinkedIn connections to Founder Executive, Veteran Network, investors, small business owners, HR people, tech builders in general, right? So, for example, Founders Executive, there are over 7,000 people on the list, right? But I uploaded into Apollo, only like 3,500 had like verified leads, right? So even though you might have a lot of connections on LinkedIn, they might not really have adequate or verified emails. And it's tough to reach out to people on LinkedIn because LinkedIn has a limit. Even if you have Sales Navigator, they only like allow you to contact 100 people a day. If you do more than that, like suppose you contact 500 a day for 3 days, they like do something to your account or cut it off or something. Or they'll cut it off, but like they do something to it, right? So it's very hard to reach out to people on LinkedIn, so to speak. So that's definitely a challenge, right? One thing I do need to get better at is the follow up, right? So I got to do better following up. So let me talk about the podcast real fast. The podcast is going very well. So it's a top 2.5% podcast in the world. It's one month last year it's been either like between number 80 or 97 as a top tech podcast in the world. Where these numbers comes from, I couldn't tell you. Be honest, if you look like at the stats on Libsyn, it doesn't seem like it should be that high. But 2.5%, that's pretty good. Out of I think there's like 4 million active podcasts on the world. No, I think there's like, remember correctly, there's 4 million podcasts on Apple Podcasts, but only 300,000 of them are active. So like, take it as it is. One thing, so I've had some really good guests on the podcast. U.S. Olympians, the Mayor of Bellevue, Mark Schreiner's been on. Just like a lot of cool guests and doing a lot of really cool things. One thing I do have to get better is like using the podcast as like a tool for CavnessHR, right? I mean, like I have guests on, I just have to do better at that, and I have to do a better job of like when I'm on the podcast, like advertising CavnessHR, talking about what I'm doing. Like I'll do like a little ad in the beginning, talking about the Wefunder ebooks, but I have to maybe like spread out more during the podcast. So one thing that's cool, like I always get like 3-4 emails or texts a day from different people wanting me in the podcast, but they're usually from out of town. I don't do Zoom or virtual. Some people have actually come here from out of town to be in the podcast who like still like tripping me out. But I have like a backlog of like a couple hundred people in Seattle who want to be in the podcast. It was crazy. I have a backlog, maybe 80 people in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam who want to be on the podcast. So I'm definitely taking the podcast back there probably next March to do some more podcast episodes there. So things I'm probably changing about the podcast. Right now, everything's free. But I'm seriously considering when a guest comes on, like the video and the audio will always be free for the guests. But right now, like I do like 60 1-minute clips of doing some video stuffs and give it to them. I'm probably start charging for that. I'm also looking like maybe start doing like sponsorship ads from different companies, right? Like I always get like emails from companies like, do you want to do like a collaboration affiliation, like where they say, hey, make a video of whatever it is and we get you 10% of sales. Well, that's not going to work for me. I need like, extra ads. So I'm going to probably work on that too. So I know that's a lot of ranting right there. But if you want to be on the podcast, let me know. I think it's a good time. One thing I'm proud of, everyone who came to the podcast has said they've had a great time. Obviously having like all this bourbon here helps out a little bit. Now, it's not a requirement to drink. Everyone doesn't drink. Probably like 50% of the people drink. But I will tell you, when there's drinking going on, the podcasts are a whole lot more fun. Yes, you can imagine, right? People always ask me what's my favorite podcast. I mean, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. It's been so many great podcasts, so much great times, right? I think I'll steal what Tom Brady says. When you used to ask Tom Brady, what's your favorite Super Bowl? He'd always say the next one. What's your favorite Super Bowl victory? He always say the next one. So I always say my next podcast guest. So, and I like talking to different people. On next Monday, I'm talking to Taylor Ray. Let me pull up her LinkedIn so I can tell her who she is. I don't want to mess it up. So I've known Taylor for a while. I was finally able to get her on the podcast. So she's a marketing director. Let me pull up on the screen. No, wrong one. So she does some amazing things. She recently graduated from Pacific Lutheran University out of Tacoma, Washington. Same college my daughter graduated from. And so at the same time, she had a business. So she was a marketing director, Success Club founder, and doing a lot of cool things. So she's coming on next Monday. And then on the 30th, have a lady named Andrea Suarez. She's the founder executive director of Retired Seattle. And so Retired Seattle has been in the news for a bit, but Retired Seattle, they're like boots on the ground, grassroots community, and they're trying to make Seattle beautiful and safe for all. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation with her. But if you want to be in the podcast, just reach out to me and we can make it happen. So I think I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. But like I said, some call to actions. Go to Wefunder. I'll put in the links on the social media or whatever. Wefunder.com/CavnessHR. Oh, let me backtrack again. So on the Wefunder, it's like I said, you have to raise at least $50,000 to get any money. We're doing on a future safe, on a safe. The valuation cap for CavnessHR is $4 million. And if you invest, I think it's like first 25,000 or 30. If you invest the first 30,000, you'll get a discount of 20% in the next funding round. Different perks based on how much you invest: $100, $250, up to $10,000. We have 3 investors already, but way behind where we need to be at. So check out the Wefunder campaign. I'm not all over the place right now, so let me go here. Go to the pitch deck real fast. So I'll do a quick run through it here. And obviously this pitch deck has changed thousands of times. Like I had a pitch deck for the Wefunder launch in Ho Chi Minh City, another deck for the Seattle Got Tech event. So I'm an INFJ retired U.S. Army officer. Like I said, we're going to do the software development partnership with TechBank. It's going to save up to 75% on versus U.S. developers. And they've done a lot of launch stuff. So some of the traction we have revenue of $51,000 is not a lot. We have had a small investment of $35,000. Another thing we want to do with CavnessHR is the fact that remote work has changed. Like the workforce has changed, right? And these stats are based in the United States, but you can do them all through like the world. Like I did this. This slide is for the United States. I did another slide for Vietnam, and the numbers are very comparable, right? And I know you probably can't see this. So, like remote work is going to be 70% by 2028. It was only 29% pre-COVID. Contracts, 50%. So this, the workforce has changed, right? Because one thing you want to do with CavnessHR, like you might have a small business owner, And back in the day, like everyone would be there in that location, right? But now you might have people like working for you in like Dallas, Texas, Denver, Vietnam, Ukraine, Poland. And so we want to be the platform that brings all that together. So we talked about that earlier, how small business owners like, lost in chaos, all the different things. Want to highlight ad hoc HR. So ad hoc HR, that's where like the small business owner says, "Hey, Betty, you're doing a great job at bookkeeping. As a reward, what's the saying? The reward for good work is more work. And so, hey, Betty, now do HR right." And that's a lose-lose because now Betty, instead of being focused 100% of the time on bookkeeping and doing a great job, they're now like doing bookkeeping 70% of the time. And so that goes down. And HR have no idea how to do HR. So that's going to go down too. So this is a big market. If you combine U.S. consulting with the worldwide TAM and like global tech, whatever, it's over $100 billion industry across the world. Of course, you can break it like this is like broken down. There's one thing about HR is it's so expansive, right? So there's like recruiting, payroll, benefits, compliance, on and on and on, right? I don't know if people realize how complicated it can be. And so right now, HR is fragmented, it's people dependent. And we want to like bring all the systems together in one place. Like I said, we want to build this as mobile first, and we want to use these AI-powered insights to help small business owners make not the right, but maybe better business decisions. So we're going to do, we want to detect, analyze, recommend, execute for the small business owner. So let me go through these real fast. And we do have like our AI tech structure set out, so I can share that with people that are interested in seeing that. So go-to-market strategy, obviously using like podcast, social media, those different things. So there's some early wins, like we had beta testers, revenue. We've defined our AI HR structure for the whole build, like from today to mobile to everything. We have all that built out, to including all the designs, everything. The partnership with the Vietnam developers is a big win for us. So like I said before, we've built out what I call the MVP minus. But it's not good enough, right, to get paying customers, I don't think. And so we need to finalize the MVP scope and do some other things too. So if you want to learn more about the Wefunder campaign, reach out to me. Looking forward to hearing from people. Let me think what else I need to talk about. So what I've gone on next month, basically focusing on the Wefunder, reaching out to people, email campaigns. One thing I have to start doing is like, excuse me. Is getting on the phone and calling people, right? So I need to start doing that. Let me think what else. So yeah, so just trying to build this thing like I can. So I'm gonna close it out from here. Hopefully it was helpful. It was really helpful for me. If you're interested, go to my YouTube videos, the Jason Cavness Experience. You can check out some of the people who. So actually, let me do that right now. I'm gonna put up a couple of videos from the CavnessHR Sales Guy Tech event.
is important. Build, as you design your systems, specifically you founders, but if you're the co-founder or if you're the head of a department or something like that.
So this is Kevin Goldsmith.
These systems for your absence, not for your presence. Now, I know, because the last couple of years we talked about a lot about founder mode, bringing the founder back into the criticality into the critical decisions as a company scales. That's great. This isn't necessarily saying that isn't the case. I personally don't like it, but that's different. But I'll tell you though, Brian Chesky at Airbnb isn't part of every decision. He's going to be part of the important decisions, and he's got a system in place that says this is where I need to be part of the decisions, and everything.
Right, so now I'm gonna switch to someone else. So here's Lee Kendall, CEO of Moto Pizza. He's one of the judges too.
A lot of new AI technology that everybody is playing with right now, and that's some of the fun stuff for me. I don't know if you follow my Instagram, I was actually talking to myself on AI, ordering a pizza, which was the craziest thing in my voice. So that was really fun. I have to say, I'm so inspired by every one of you that are doing these startups and where you're at right now. Wow, just well done. It was really hard for all of us as judges. I can speak for the ladies when I say it was a difficult decision. So know that it was close for many of you guys. So well done. Every one of you that are here are for a reason that is either technology or entrepreneurship or we're.
All right, so now I'm gonna click to someone else. So this is one of the people who actually demoed there, Mark Schreiner.
That's the long and short of it. Obviously, it's a lot more sophisticated, complicated, but really what it does is it reduces RFP response times by about 80%. Second? So that's a very good question. Breeze is specifically targeting small and medium businesses. Small and medium businesses are particularly challenged to respond to RFPs because they don't have dedicated proposal managers, but also because they have limited budgets. Our competitions are priced at about.
So Mark has also been on the podcast.
They have all the bells and whistles that the large enterprise customers might need. But Breeze is right sized for that SMB market and right priced, we say, budget smart for the SMBs.
So I'm gonna find one more person to highlight on here.
So Zarin say here.
So this is Zarin Beg of Rawak. She does business development for them. She just had a baby girl a few days ago.
Next night, all the judges talk. So there was also a judge. So we talked 2 minutes about your judging experience.
What? Sorry.
Yeah, about your judging.
Well, So first of all, I'm super impressed with this room. I did not expect what I've seen here today. Like really, everyone has like some crazy, one of the things that I thought was really important is the impact. And there's so many companies here that just really work on a problem that is so impactful and will help many people. And so I'm very impressed. Just all around, just super impressed with everyone that's here today.
Well, thank you. Angie, can you come up next?
And so also Angie Parker, Managing Director of Alliance Angels, also a judge. So for the last clip on here, I'm gonna pull up Ryan James so I can find him. Well, maybe I can't. So the whole CavnessHR Sales Guy Tech event is on my YouTube channel, the Jason Cavness Experience. Just go there and Google like CavnessHR Guy Tech. You'll see like all the demos, all the keynotes, all that kind of stuff. Really good event. So I'm gonna close this out now. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna push it out again as like an actual podcast episode, probably this Sunday, and also put us on YouTube. So thanks for your time. And remember to be great every day.